Locking you out like a lullaby.
Art of Action Figures here, back with another K-pop Demon Hunters figure review. This time we're going to be looking at Rumi, another Huntrix girl. Last time around we took a look at Mira, so go check that video out if you want to see more K-pop Demon Hunters. I want to give a warm welcome to all the people who found this channel after checking out this video. I really appreciate it. This is a chill place where we talk about action figures as art and the art that inspires them. As you can see, Rumi's box has the same shape and layout as Mira's. Huntrix logo on the side. On the front we have a big window where we can see the figure and the accessories. Some nice character art of Rumi. The K-pop Demon Hunters Huntrix logos, character's name. How It's Done is the name of the opening song where she's wearing this outfit. And then, of course, the Mattel logo in the lower right. Warning, this does have choking hazards, small parts not for children under 3 years, but it is rated as safe for ages 4+. I'm not sure young kids will keep all the pieces together or intact, but 4+ typically means they're using softer plastic PVC throughout the figure, so there aren't going to be any potentially sharp edges or pointy parts, or things that could potentially like snap and shatter and form a sharp edge. On the side of the box, we have some really awesome faces. It's nice that they line up with the collage for Mira as well. It's going to be cool to have all three of them when Zoey finally makes it here. I like to keep these boxes. They are themselves part of the art for me. Rumi is the radiant leader of Huntrix and a fiercely skilled hunter, an unstoppable force against demons or paparazzi. Her confidence and ambition keeps the group motivated. Rumi takes on demons with the use of her Saengom 4 tiger sword. And we can see her posed with the sword here. Some more figures in this first wave. I just got a shipping confirmation from Mattel for something. I don't know which figures exactly will be in it, but I have the whole first wave coming at some point. All right, let's go ahead and open the box. Sharp object, use an adult. Or an adult brain if you have one of those, but I need it to slice the tape along the top as I talked about last time. These boxes must be opened from the top because of the fanning out design. Otherwise, I would normally open from the bottom. Rumi comes with 3 faces, a neutral, relaxed, confident-looking face, which has some nice blush application to the cheeks. We'll take a closer look at that soon. Essential for this part of the movie, she has the stuffing her face, and then I forget when she makes this exact crying face. You'll have to let me know if you can remember, and I'll have to go watch the movie again, but she has crying profusely, tears streaming down her face with her eyes closed. Just awesome. Love the face expressions with these. And I think with swappable faces as good as these are, Mattel is really taking a step towards imports. She, of course, has her sword, her ramyeon cup, and this delicious kimbap roll. And finally, 4 total hands to interact with the different accessories or pose her in different ways. She has a left and right C-grip hand, a left open hand that can be used for expression or to hold the ramyeon cup, and then she has a right hand specifically holding chopsticks. And finally, same as Mira, she has a Huntrix display base. And even more finally, she has a bunch of these little twisty ties, which I am going to now go carefully snip. I have prepared my flush cutters, sharp object, use an adult or an adult brain for such things. I find the easiest way to remove these is from the back, so you avoid damaging the figure, and I like to do it so that the debris from doing this can easily just collect itself in the tray. So I'm going to go do the rest of these, and then we'll take a look at Rumi out of the packaging. Once you're all done, be sure to collect all these and throw them away. Don't leave them where little kids or little pets could get to them. They are not tasty. And I'll be right back. Notice her braid's getting a little caught in the plastic tray here, so I'm just going to carefully cut some relief into the tray, and hopefully that'll... There we go. I'm most curious if they put some articulation on her hair, and it looks like they did. That's awesome. Figure out how that works in a moment. The braid itself is not bendy, it just has this kind of pre-molded S-curve shape, but that's pretty versatile, so I'm not sure making the hair bendy would have added a bunch. Quick size comparison. Here's Rumi next to two other figures from my collection, both from SHF. We have the Games Begin Goku. I'm happy to say I got a second copy of Games Begin Goku, and so far I seem to have lucked out a little bit more with the quality control. It no longer has the wobbly bicep joint that my first copy has. On the right, we have the Marvel Gamerverse Spider-Man. If you saw Mira's review, I said the next video would be about Marvel Gamerverse. I promise I'm still working on it. I'm about halfway done with it. It's taking a little while because it's a more analytical video, so I'll keep working on it. In the meantime, Mattel keeps sending me cool packages, and I just couldn't wait to take a look at the next figure in the band. Speaking of the band, here is Mira. It's a miracle she is standing right now. Her knees are so wobbly. I have a feeling Rumi might have the same problem. We'll talk about why that is. I'm super happy with how these two look together so far. Spot reserved for Zoey when that figure finally arrives. Rumi's articulation is very similar to Mira's, with just a couple key differences. Whereas Mira has this soft plastic skirt, Rumi has a soft plastic jacket and shorts, so her legs will be able to move a little more freely. Rumi has an articulated braid, while Mira's pigtails were fixed in place, and that actually makes a big difference for poses. It's a very quick way to indicate movement in a particular direction. That gives her a little bit of an advantage for like action poses. And then one more unique point of articulation, Rumi has a swivel at the top of the boot. Mira's boots go all the way up to the thigh, so no boot swivel cut into the lower leg. And the nice thing about having a swivel below the knee is it helps you to plant the foot flat on the floor without changing the direction of the knee. So if you wanted her in like a crouched stance like this, without a boot swivel, this can be difficult if the ankle rocker doesn't put the foot naturally just at the right position. But with the boot swivel, you can see it's fairly easy to just adjust that ankle until the foot's flat on the floor. So that's pretty nice. And then a final comment just about the engineering in general. The same note still applies to the knees, unfortunately. That's just kind of a consequence of the way these knees are designed. The way that companies like Mattel and Hasbro design hinges like this, you can see the hinge itself is kind of sandwiched between this rectangular cutout in either side of the leg. And firmness in this joint comes from the outer parts of that sandwich holding together firmly and compressing the joint so that there's a little bit of friction. When the joints are loose like this, it's because there's not enough compressive strength. You can see just how thin that plastic is. Thin means easy to bend. And easy to bend on either side of this joint means the compressive strength isn't as high as it needs to be to hold that joint in place. And so the result is wobbliness. I do notice that I have an easier time getting Rumi to balance compared to Mira. Her knees are maybe a little bit tighter, not significantly though. I think the bigger difference is they both have quite long hairstyles, but Mira's is a thicker piece of solid plastic, and it is significantly heavier in hand. You can tell it's just like pulling her back, whereas Rumi's braid is fairly thin and feels relatively light. And then the other aspect is, if you look at the size of their boots, they're comparable, but Mira has a much smaller heel, and so Rumi has a much wider base to stand on with this really chunky heel. So those are the high-level comments on the engineering. Let's talk about the articulation top to bottom. There's a single ball joint at the head. It has a little bit more clearance than Mira's, since Rumi's hair is tightly pulled back and doesn't hang down behind her back, so she can look up a little bit better. Not a ton, but maybe 5 to 10 degrees, whereas it was pretty much 0 degrees for Mira. And then not much looking down, maybe another 5 degrees looking down. If that's neutral, that's down, that's up. And then similar amount of range side to side, swivel and tilt all around on the ball joint. Her braid is on a swivel, hinge, swivel combo joint. So that's really nice. You get swiveling in any direction, and then depending on the orientation of the hinge, it can hinge up and down. It holds its position. The braid itself is soft plastic. It doesn't have wire running through it. It's just molded in this S-curve, which I think is plenty versatile. You can have it blowing off to the side. You can have it blowing back behind her. You can tuck it up close to her body. You can wrap it around. You can do all sorts of maneuvers. So that's really good. And the joint is actually pretty well disguised. It has a little bit of like a hair texture sculpted into it. It's a nice and sturdy joint, and it holds the hair at extreme angles really well. All right, her arms are just swivel hinges, so they can hinge up to the side. She has a shoulder pad on her left arm, not on her right, but they both get about the same range thanks to the soft material here, just generally moving out of the way pretty easily. They can swivel, and without butterfly joints, she can actually bring the arms pretty much straight forward, maybe even a little bit inside. So that's nice because it helps her hold the sword with 2 hands more easily if you wanted her to do that. You just need to use the elbows a little bit. And then she has a single hinge at the elbow, which gets 90 degrees of range and can swivel. But the swivel does start to kind of impede the hinge a little bit. So if you have it rotated 90 degrees in, the hinge only gets about 70 degrees, not quite the full 90, just because of the way this cut is shaped front to back. You can see it's angled, and so the front side is where you'll get the most range out of the hinge. The wrists are on horizontal hinges, and they can swivel around. You cannot change the direction of the hinge, though. So, not ideal. It's nice to have a vertical hinge for a sword. Better yet, the way import figures are made, they'll actually use this type of joint for wrists, and so you can position the hinge any direction you want. She has a single ball joint at the waist, gets a little bit of hula hoop action, not a ton of range in any direction. Again, similar to the neck, maybe like 5 degrees either way, and mine's actually a little bit loose. Like 5 degrees at most in every direction, and then, of course, it can rotate on the ball as well. She has ball joints at the hips, and this is interesting. Forgive the angle here, but they have those little nubs protruding from the ball, and so, I don't know, it gives it kind of a soft ratcheted feel, and it's more pronounced on Rumi than it was on Mira, and it means that the leg has these like soft clicks between specific positions, and those are the positions that that joint's gonna kind of comfortably rest in. Anything in between there, it's kind of, you're like balancing it on those little nubs, and it's more likely going to like spring back into one of the positions on either side. So with that in mind, she kicks forward just about 90 degrees. She does not kick back. The side-to-side split is full 180 degrees with no skirt in the way, so that's pretty good. She has a thigh swivel nicely hidden at the bottom of the shorts. Double hinge knee goes all the way up. Swivel at the top of the boot. Swivel hinge ankle goes down, up, and then the peg goes almost straight down into the shoe. And so it acts more like a swivel than an ankle rocker. But because Rumi has the boot swivel, you can get ankle rocker-like behavior out of it without compromising the direction of the knee. So that's nice. It's going to make it easier to put her into kind of low crouching poses. And that is it. Pretty similar to Mira. A couple of places that are a little more hand-friendly, like no skirt to get in the way at the hips. However, you do have that like soft clicking behavior that I mentioned. Mira had it too, it was not quite as strong. The hair is much easier to contend with and gives you more posing options. Works well to give her a sense of motion. I'm pretty sure she hits a rider kick at some point in the movie. So you can do that, and the hair will help you out. I am noticing that the finish on the shorts is maybe scuffing a little bit on the waist. If you're pushing the leg all the way up, this part is going to rub on the underside of this cut. And then as you're moving the hair, just pay careful attention to the direction of the hinge before you try to activate a hinge-like movement so that you don't force it to bend on the wrong axis. Next, we'll take a look at the details and play with some of the accessories. Now, taking a close look at the details on the figure, starting with the face, you can see they did a fantastic job with the likeness, the makeup, the expression. My copy has a couple little white specks on the left side of her face. I tried scratching them off. That's not coming off. It's not too terribly noticeable, but the camera does pick it up, so it's worth mentioning. Her hair is really well sculpted. You can see a little bit of seam lines both in the mold and where the face is connected. And her ears are painted onto the purple plastic of her hair, and they're a little bit messy. And as I pointed out with Mira, they didn't include her earrings. That might just be too small of a detail to include at this scale, but you can see in the box art, she is wearing earrings. Around the back, there's a slight color difference between the main part of her hair and the braid. The braid's like slightly more purple. It's very, very minor difference. And the sculpt of the braid is great. It has really nice texture. The braid pattern is really tidy. And at the end of the braid, she has a yellow hair tie painted on. You can see it has some sort of markings. I'm not sure if those were supposed to be painted. And then, as I mentioned with the articulation, there's this like swivel hinge joint connecting the braid. And here we can get a close look at it. It does have a little bit of hair texture sculpted into it to help it blend in. But it's a good joint. It's nice and sturdy. A little bit of artifacts from the mold in a couple places, as I mentioned. This is maybe a bit of parting line here, and then there's some flashing or gate marks. The hair has nice texture overall and helps to kind of mask some of those imperfections. Her torso is molded in her skin color, and then the tank top turtleneck is painted over top in white. It has some sculpted fabric texture and looks really nice. Her silver necklace is painted on. And then let's talk about her jacket, because this is actually pretty impressive. It's a soft PVC vest piece, and then her arms are just sculpted as jacket sleeves, and the color matches perfectly. The golden color matches perfectly between them, and then there is just a ton of little intricate design details on here. First, there's this black trim that goes all the way around, down the zipper, around the back, and then up around the collar, and that looks really good. I think maybe the inside of the collar should be black all the way around as well. And then let's just go one by one through all these little patches and play a game of how do we think they applied this detail. There's a couple methods I know of. They could hand paint it, they could use a decal, they could use inkjet, digital printing, or tampo, which is the pad printing stamping method. And what's interesting is a lot of this kind of appears to be hand painted. Like this pattern, if you look at it, it has the like slight imperfection that you would get if somebody hand painted this. Like this little star shape here, and I'm not necessarily knocking it for that. I think that's super impressive if somebody hand painted this. And then on the opposite side, she has this Rumi. To get enough precision to apply text, I would guess that that is tampo or a decal. It doesn't look inkjet printed. The red markings around it might be hand painted, however. On her left arm, I can't tell what this one says. You'll have to let me know. But you can start to see maybe a little bit of like a pixelated texture on it, which to me suggests that's inkjet printed. Similar for the pattern at the end of the sleeve on either side. You can see it just has like a little graininess. The white stripes next to it, though, are probably hand painted or tampoed. I guess the other method they could do is masking. So have something masking this area, and then I can see that top patch says Slay. That definitely looks inkjet printed to me. And then this, I don't know if that says something Huntrix. Oh, it just says Huntrix. Haha. That also looks inkjet printed. But overall, I mean, the details look great. It's a pretty complex design to pull off, especially on a $20 figure, and I think they did a nice job with it. From even a middle distance on camera, it looks really good. Her shorts are a dark navy blue. She has a pink belt painted on. It goes all the way around. Pink pinstripes down the outside of her leg. And then her legs are just bare molded plastic in her skin color. We already talked about this situation. You can see it up close now, why there's not enough compressive strength on this part of the joint, and that makes it tend to both wobble side to side and forward and back a little bit. Up close, there's also some pretty gnarly molding artifacts back there. I'd be very curious to know what type of plastic is used for the hinge block. Is it PVC or is it something like ABS or POM? And finally, her boots are the same navy blue as her shorts. They have pink stripes going down the front with a green border on both sides. There is a break in the paint at the ankle joint. Pretty difficult to make that work. They could have made the joint itself pink, but then it would be the wrong color from the back. And sometimes people don't understand this. You can't just mold every part in any color you want. There is a little bit of a science and optimization that goes into how many times you have to inject plastic into how many molds. They're already running this navy blue plastic for her shorts, her hip joints, and her boots. Having to run this ankle joint mold in pink plastic just for itself is going to add operational costs. Not only is it an additional molding step, it's an entirely new plastic mixture that they have to formulate, color match, and configure the injection molding system for. So not only is it not great for the design because the back would be the wrong color, there's also a little bit of process optimization that goes into picking colors for plastic parts. And then one thing I forgot to mention is this little talisman. It's soft PVC molded in purple, probably in the same shot as her hair. It's all solid color. There's no additional paint detail on there, but it is nicely sculpted. You can see a fair amount of detail for how soft the plastic is. And it's a difference from Mira, who just had her talisman painted onto the skirt. Let's talk about her sword. Just like Mira, the weapon is molded in this iridescent, translucent plastic. It looks very good. It's a little bit sparkly. It's got a little blue to purple gradient. And there is some very, very finely detailed pattern etched into it. Some astrological chart or something. I don't know what the little circle here was for, but something about manufacturing this sword required that. And then you can see the handle is painted gold. The easiest way to get it into her hand is to start from the end of the hilt where it's narrow and then slide it down. She holds it pretty well. Depending on where you have her gripping the handle, it's probably best right around this grip area, which makes sense. And then as we saw in the articulation, she doesn't have butterfly joints at the shoulders, but they do go forward pretty well. And with just a little help from the elbows or the wrists, you can have her holding it with two hands pretty much straight out in front. So that's nice. It just makes two-handed poses that much easier. If she's swinging the sword this way, her hair's going to be going that way. This phone accessory is from the Amazing Yamaguchi Juri Han. It's a really nice piece, actually. It's got a little bit of text conversation going on there, but this isn't the right face for thinking about the fans. Let's go ahead and swap. And swapping the face is easy enough. It's got 3 pegs, 3 peg holes. There we go. That's about right. This face is awesome. So funny. One more element to the scene. Let's add Mira. Combination of faces. Perfection. Let me know if you can think of a good caption for this image. But yeah, these faces are what it's all about. It would be nice if all 3 girls had this matching crying about the fans face, but I think these two complement each other really well. Quick look at some of the rest of her accessories in detail. Here's the kimbap roll. As nice and refreshing as this may look, reminder, this is plastic. Don't eat it. Let's swap to the eating face, which on the box they have used it as sniffing the kimbap roll face as well. It's not an exact match for that particular face, but with only 3 to include, this one doubles pretty well as a big sniffing face. Okay, challenge is going to be getting her hands high enough to hold this. That's the idea. It's not perfect. And then obviously she has no shoving it into her throat. Don't eat kimbap rolls like that. And finally, her noodle cup says Rumi, superstar flavor. And just like Mira, it has this kind of flow of noodles going down the back that can sort of act like a handle. If you put her thumb through the hole like that, she can hold it. And then she has the silver chopsticks and looks pretty great. I got a comment on Mira's video, someone saying they wish they had like serious action fighting faces. And while they don't have that, you can actually use the eating faces. And as you can see, it's still a good, like, concentrated looking at the opponent face. Kind of silly, but I like it. Confirmed, Rumi does do the rider kick during the how it's done skydiving sequence, so there we go. And you can see posing the braid works really nicely. You can use the ramen cup holding hand as just more of a gesture action hand as well. She hits the pose. It's not perfect. I think a little more range in the torso and neck would go a long way to help this look even better. And I actually kind of like the eating face on here, not gonna lie. So yeah, loving these figures so far. It seems like a lot of people are finding the channel through them, so really happy to see that. I have a couple more K-pop Demon Hunters in the pipeline. I have just received the Rumi and Jinu 2-pack, as well as Jinu and Abby from the Saja Boys. And I just got a notification that Zoey has shipped and should be here next week. So let me know which of those you'd like to see next. As I mentioned at the top, this is the Art of Action Figures, where we talk about action figures as art and the art that they come from. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.